Welcome back to part 3 of Life Processes, Class 10 Science, Chapter 6. In this video, we shall discuss transportation in organisms and the human circulatory system. So let's start. Transportation in organisms. Transportation is a life process in which a substance absorbed in one part of the body is carried to the other parts of the body. Transport in humans. The human circulatory system consists of three things. 1. A circulatory medium, that is blood or lymph. 2. A system of blood vessels, that are arteries, veins and capillaries. 3rd, a pumping organ, that is the heart. 1. Circulatory medium. Blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. It is red in color due to the presence of hemoglobin. The components of blood: RBCs, WBCs, platelets and plasma. Now let's study them in detail. RBCs. They have hemoglobin. They carry oxygen from the lungs to other body parts. They don't have nuclei. WBCs. These are the white blood cells or white blood corpuscles. They fight infections and protect us from diseases. Platelets. They help to clot the blood at various parts of the body where there is injury. Plasma. It is a fluid part of blood. All the cells are suspended in it. It transports food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. The second circulatory medium is lymph. When the blood flows through thin capillaries, some amount of plasma, proteins and blood cells filter out of the capillaries. These form a fluid called lymph. Lymph is colorless and contains less proteins than blood, though it is like plasma only. Functions of lymph. Lymph carries digested and absorbed fats from intestines. It drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into blood, and the lymphocytes present in it destroy or kill the harmful pathogens. 2. Blood vessels. There are 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart to various organs of the body. They have thick and elastic walls as blood emerges from the heart under very high pressure. They don't have valves. They carry oxygenated blood. This is the blood which is rich in oxygen. Veins. They collect the blood from different organs and bring it back to the heart. They have thinner walls as blood is no longer under high pressure. They have valves so that the blood flows only in one direction and doesn't go back. They carry deoxygenated blood. This is the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide. Capillaries. Capillaries are the smallest and thinnest vessels. The exchange of material between blood and surrounding cells takes place across the walls of capillaries. As you can see in the diagram, arteries divide into smaller and smaller vessels to form capillaries. These capillaries then join together to form veins that take blood to the heart. Heart is a muscular organ of about the size of a clenched fist. It has 4 chambers or compartments to prevent oxygen-rich blood from mixing with the carbon dioxide-rich blood. Chambers of the heart. These are atria and ventricles. Atria are the upper 2 chambers and ventricles are the lower 2 chambers. Under atria we have left atrium and right atrium, while in ventricles there is left ventricle and right ventricle. The atria have thinner walls as they have the function of receiving the blood, while the ventricles have the function of pumping the blood to the various organs of the body, so they have thicker walls. Circulation of blood in the heart. We shall learn this process in 7 steps. Step 1. The right atrium relaxes to receive deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body. This is brought by a vein called vena cava. Right atrium contracts and right ventricle, which is just below it, relaxes. This transfers the deoxygenated blood to the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps the blood into lungs for making it oxygen rich. This is done via a special artery called the pulmonary artery. The oxygen-rich blood from the lungs comes to the left atrium via the pulmonary vein. The left atrium relaxes while receiving blood. The left atrium contracts while the next chamber, that is the left ventricle, relaxes so that blood is transferred to it. The left ventricle contracts to pump the oxygenated blood into aorta, which is the largest artery. From the aorta, it keeps on dividing into smaller and smaller arteries, and soon bloods reach all the parts of the body. The veins collect the deoxygenated blood from all the parts of the body and bring it back to the heart, and this process continues. Now let's understand the circulation of blood in the heart with the help of a live experiment. Let's conduct that experiment. Now you can see the setup for this experiment. I have taken this red water as blood. Then the syringe has been taken as a body part from which the blood will be received to the heart. Then there are the 4 chambers of the heart: left atrium, left ventricle and right ventricle. Then the blood will be sent to the lungs, which I have depicted by this box. And from the lungs, which I have again taken as this syringe, the blood will be sent back to the heart, from which it will be pumped to the entire body, which I have depicted by this box. Now from a body part, I am pumping the blood into the right atrium chamber of the heart, as you can see there. Now from the right atrium, the blood is pumped into the right ventricle. Now from the right ventricle, it contracts to supply the blood into the lungs. As you can see that the blood is now flowing into the lungs. Then when the lungs receive the blood, they make the blood oxygen rich when we breathe in. Then from the lungs, the blood is then supplied to the left atrium chamber of the heart. Then from the left atrium, when it contracts, the blood is then transferred into the left ventricle. Now from the left ventricle, when the left ventricle contracts, the blood is then transferred into the body parts. As you can see that the blood is being transferred. Then in this process I am showing you by pressing on the various chambers of the heart, but in reality the various chambers contract and relax systematically to collect the blood and also to pump the blood. Then this flow of the blood in the various chambers is regulated by these valves which are present in the heart. This is the whole experiment and you can see it correctly. Now we have learned about the transportation in humans and the human circulatory system. Let's understand the transportation in plants and how different materials travel in plants. So transportation in plants is carried out by two specialized tissues. These are xylem and the phloem. Let's understand each one of them in detail. So the xylem transports water and minerals from the roots to other plant parts, while the phloem transports food from the leaves to other plant parts. This process is called translocation. And phloem also transports amino acids and other substances. Xylem. It consists of xylem vessels, xylem tracheids, xylem fibers and xylem parenchyma. And their function is to conduct water and minerals. While the phloem consists of sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers and phloem parenchyma. Sieve tubes transport food vertically and companion cells help the sieve tubes, while the phloem fibers provide mechanical strength, and the phloem parenchyma helps to transport the food horizontally. Third, direction. So xylem transports water only in the upward direction, while the phloem transports food both in the upward as well as the downward direction. Fourth, driving forces. So driving forces for conduction of water and minerals are osmosis or root pressure and transpiration. Osmosis, in the process of osmosis, the root hairs actively take up ions. This creates a difference in concentration of these ions between root and soil, and water moves into the root from the soil. Second, transpiration. So it is a process of evaporation of water from the stomata of leaf, and this creates a suction which pulls the water from the xylem cells of roots to aerial parts of the plant. Now let's see the driving forces of phloem tissue. It is different from xylem. Materials like sucrose is transferred into the phloem using energy from the ATP. This creates difference in concentration of sucrose and increases the osmotic pressure of the tissue and causes water to move inside it. This pressure moves the materials of phloem to the tissue which have less pressure. Now let's do another interesting topic, that is blood pressure. It is the force exerted by blood against the wall of a vessel. It is measured by sphygmomanometer. So it is of two types, systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure is the pressure of the blood inside an artery during contraction, that is when the artery is closed. And normal systolic pressure is 120 mm of mercury. Second, diastolic pressure. It is the pressure in the artery during relaxation when the artery is open. Normal systolic pressure is 80 mm of mercury. So this is all for today. We'll meet in the third video. Thank you.